now convene this June 20th meeting of the Centreville Town Council. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, council members, in your packets, you should have the minutes from the June 6th meeting. And these were sent to you in advance. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6th Town Council regular meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we'll read a closed session statement. Closed session announcement regarding the Town Council closed session on June 20th, 2024. The Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. to discuss personnel in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. 5 members of the Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in Section 3305 of the General Provisions article. The Town Council discussed the following topic: personnel. We discussed appointments to boards and commissions. There was no action taken. The following members and staff were present. Oh, and I'm sorry, 4 council members voted to close the session. The following members and staff were present: Ashley H. Kaiser, President; Daniel B. Worth, Jim A. Beecham, and Jeffrey D. Keel, members; Carolyn Brinkley, Town Manager; Gay Adams, Town Clerk; and Sharon Van Emberg, Town Attorney. Okay. All right, sorry. Okay. Next, we have our first citizens forum. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes. Are there any citizens that wish to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will head right into appearances. The Corsica River Conservancy and Shore River Keepers has a presentation. Whoever is presenting can just come sit up here.
Good evening.
Aye.
Hello.
Thank you all for having me. My name is Annie Richards. I'm your Chester River Keeper with Shore Rivers. I'm here today speaking on behalf of Shore Rivers, Corsica River Conservancy, and Chesapeake Legal Alliance, who have been engaged in advocacy matters related to Centreville's ongoing wastewater treatment plant upgrade initiatives. And we're here to give hopefully a short and informative presentation regarding our advocacy efforts and with a proposal for the town's consideration. So, before we begin, I just want to say thank you to Council for having us tonight. I also want to say thank you to Centreville's Department of Public Works and to the Town Manager. Everyone that we have worked with throughout this process so far has been responsive and open and very communicative with their processes as they've gone through this long and drawn out process of upgrading plants, which we know can be arduous. And I want to say that from our perspective, we're not here because we think that the town manager, or the Department of Public Works is doing anything wrong. In fact, we think everyone's doing exactly the right thing, the thing that is expected by Maryland Department of the Environment. But we're asking for something more than what is asked of the state, and we recognize that. There we go. So quickly, I just want to give a brief history of some of the historically relevant restoration efforts that kind of set the background for this and bring us to where we are. So in 1972, the Clean Water Act was passed. This act established the TMDLs. So for anyone who may not be familiar with TMDL, it stands for Total Maximum Daily Load. And it is the parameter that limits the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment that can be discharged into a body of water. This is all in efforts to protect water quality across U.S. waterways. And depending on the size of the water, you can have a personalized and specialized TMDL to smaller bodies of water. So while the Chesapeake Bay has TMDLs, the Corsica River also has a TMDL. These were especially created during the Chesapeake Bay Agreement in 1983, which created an agreement between 6 watershed states New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, West Virginia, Virginia, and Maryland, where these states unified and committed to 31 goals and outcomes to restore the Chesapeake Bay by 2025, which is coming up. And a lot of those goals were based on leveraging laws and initiatives that were passed during the Clean Water Act, including establishing a permitting program to accomplish the full elimination of pollution discharges from point sources like wastewater treatment plants. And then I also want to highlight something that's localized. So we've gone from federal to state and Bay watershed to here in the Corsica. I want to highlight the Corsica Watershed Project, which started in 2005. Here we are almost in 2025, $20 million have been spent in partnership between the town, between the state, Department of Natural Resources, and grassroots community organizations like Corsica River Conservancy and others. The Corsica River was the state's first targeted watershed for restoration efforts, and even now today, in 2024, our recent legislative session passed a monumental restoration bill that was all based on this targeted effort on the Corsica 20 years ago. So this legacy of investment in this waterway and the partnerships that have come out of it can still be seen today, even as recently as the Millstream Branch project being proposed that the town is acquiring for restoration, the parcel at the top of Millstream Branches. That's another example of where this good work continues today to restore the Corsica River. So the town's proposal for wastewater treatment plant upgrade, increase the town's capacity by 458,000 gallons per day. Update technology, always a good thing. We like that technology is being upgraded to reduce even more nutrients and sediment from entering the waterway. And surface discharge this new 458,000 gallons per day into the Corsica River year-round. So what's the problem? Yes. Wouldn't we all like to know? Oh. Okay. There are a couple of chief reasons that we're concerned. Number one, the TMDL that governs the amount of pollutants that are acceptable to pass into the Corsica is very outdated. It's more than 20 years old, and it doesn't reflect the current pressures that exist within the watershed. It doesn't reflect climate data and science. And in fact, the recent Caesar report, which was released by the Chesapeake Bay program by the scientists that are overseeing all of our Chesapeake Bay restoration efforts across our 6 states, they've released this report entitled the Caesar Report about 18 months ago, and in that report they spend a lot of time questioning the validity of the model that is used to generate those TMDLs. So those of us who are engaged in water quality restoration day in and day out have significant concerns about where localized TMDLs stand at present. We are not using best available technology. The Clean Water Act asks that each state incorporate best available technology. And right now, the technology being proposed for the wastewater treatment plant meets Maryland's standards for best available technology. But compared to many other states, including Washington, California, Arizona, and many others, we are lagging behind what best available technology is. And a lot of those upgrades in other states were born out of the desire to reuse water and conserve water for potable resources, but even in Virginia, in Centreville, Virginia, in fact, they are already utilizing this technology so that they can offset costs of running and operating their wastewater treatment plant and selling that water for watering golf courses and farm fields and other such purposes. So this isn't just a few small pilot projects across the country. This is a well-recognized and documented way of treating wastewater. It's just not Maryland's way yet. However, Westminster, Maryland, Anne Arundel County are all starting to pursue pilot programs so that they can pursue these types of technologies for various reasons. And one of the reasons is that nutrients are not our only concern anymore. The more that we monitor and test for PFAS, the more that those are becoming, we're finding that they are bioaccumulating in our environment, and we need to do things to keep them out of our water. And the treatments that are truly best available technology, such as reverse osmosis, activated carbon, they are fine enough filtering technologies that they can strain out PFAS, pharmaceuticals, microplastics, and other emerging contaminants. And the best part of that, maybe not the best part, but as a byproduct of that, because that refinement system is so excellent, you achieve a zero nutrient effluent. So no nitrogen or near zero, no nitrogen, no phosphorus, no sediment. So you're really achieving a clean water.
But the technologies that allow for that, are they allowed in the state of Maryland now, or would it take legislation change for those regulations to allow for those technologies?
Great question. They are not required in a permit. So the state of Maryland could not require this technology of anyone, but to pursue a pilot program would not necessarily require legislation. It depends. So some counties that have sought pilot programs for this have actively sought legislation, but that has pertained to what they want to do with that water after they've cleaned it, or the type of funding that they want access to do it. A lot of those wastewater treatment plants were much, much larger than what Centreville is. So we believe that it would not require legislation to achieve this if Centreville was to pursue this type of technology.
But it would be characterized as a pilot project.
It would, yes. The last thing I want to kind of highlight high level about our concern is the discharge. So yes, Centreville, regardless of whether you choose to enter into a pilot program, you are upgrading your technology to filter the water, and that's great. The issue is that it doesn't remove everything, and you'll go from discharging during the cold winter months to discharging a certain load. I recognize not all of it. You'll still be utilizing your spray effluent field, but the new capacity will be discharged year-round in the warm months in the Corsica River, and for that reason, we are deeply concerned. Ooh, wow. Okay. To briefly explain why that's a concern to us, I do want to highlight that Shore Rivers, one of the services that we provide is that we monitor our waterways 7 months out of the year. We test for nitrogen, phosphorus, sediment, chlorophyll A, or algae, an indicator species for algae. We also measure water clarity, salinity, and water temperatures. We use these annual testing regimes to generate a report card for the overall river. As the Chester River Keeper, of course, I monitor the Chester and all of its major tributaries. This year, our data brought the Chester River in as a C+, and looking at this heat map, you can see that typically water quality degrades the farther up river you go into smaller bodies of water. So when you have a high ratio of land to a small ratio of water, the water is going to have a harder time recovering from the amount of pollutants going into it. The Corsica, as you can see by this heat map, is kind of tied for the poorest performing tributary with the East Fork of Langford. Part of that is because of the way these bodies of water are shaped. They are very shallow. The flow of the tide is very slow. So it's very easy for things to accumulate in the Corsica and not be flushed out. On a 3-year average, the Corsica's annual health grade or water quality index only met minimum passing water quality standards 34% of the time. So it really is one of our poorest performing tributaries, unfortunately.
Are you seeing any seasonal correlation with our discharge times versus our irrigation times?
So another great question. So your discharge times are during months of the year where Shore Rivers does not sample water quality. And that's because typically waters need to be of a certain temperature to have a biological reaction to the nutrients being put into it. So there's not much to measure in the winter months, and that's why we haven't engaged in advocacy on those discharge months in the past. What concerns us now is the increased input that'll be year-round during warm weather months. So again, to highlight just the Corsica, I want to just kind of highlight, you can see the Bay Health Scale. If we got dark green across the board, we'd be very happy. You can see that we sample for oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, clarity, CHLA, which is that indicator for algae, and the overall grade. You can see that nitrogen, phosphorus, clarity, and chlorophyll are scoring particularly poorly in the Corsica already without this additional load of wastewater treatment plant discharge year-round. The average nutrient loads in the Corsica in the 2 stations that I monitor are for nitrogen, I'm seeing 0.99 milligrams per liter on average, and for phosphorus, 0.15 milligrams per liter. That's what's in the river right now at the current performance that we're seeing it. MDE's typical permit that has been proposed in the way that Centreville is currently trying to upgrade their plant, that permit would allow for 3 milligrams per liter of nitrogen and 0.15 milligrams per liter of phosphorus for facilities with ENR technology. Now, I do want to correct myself and say that's the typical loading for ENR technology. I do believe that when we were in a meeting with MDE, they had proposed making the phosphorus even lower than that for Centreville. I think it was 0.9. But my point is that those loads are higher than what I'm already seeing in the Corsica in the way that it's performing currently. So in our opinion, the Corsica can't afford to go backwards. That will be going backwards on $20 million of investments to restore this beautiful river. And I know that that's not something that this town values, because I know how central this is to everyone's, identity, the landscape here, and the value that this river brings to everyone. I also just want to highlight again that cold month to warm month difference. This is a chart that's got a lot going on. The blue bars that you see there are the chlorophyll A loads that we have per month last year. So in 2023, the chlorophyll loading in April, May, June, July, August, September, and October. You can see that in the spring and summer, when we have the rainiest times of the year, our chlorophyll levels are elevated. But that's also because in the rainiest months of the year, we have lots of nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, and sediment coming into our waterways, typically from non-point source pollutants, right? And so when you combine high chlorophyll with, you can see that green bar is temperature. As temperatures rises and you have that high chlorophyll loading, you can see what happens to our dissolved oxygen rate. It does the opposite. So we need that dissolved oxygen level at the bottom of the river to sustain our fisheries. We need that to allow sunlight to get to the bottom of the river so that we can have rooted grasses that are providing water clarity and oxygen for those species that are living in our waterways. So this is a tough cycle that we are currently trying to break, and adding a new point source year-round during the warm months is, again, not going in the direction we're hoping to see. So what is our community proposal? So on behalf of the Corsica's water quality and habitat and community members, we implore MDE and the town of Centreville to establish and implement a pilot program that exceeds the current proposal and has a more positive long-term impact and establishes a model for other jurisdictions to follow. That would be by 1, utilizing reverse osmosis or similar technology to achieve zero or near zero nutrient effluent. And that will also, just by de facto, address contamination from potential PFAS, pharmaceuticals, and other emerging toxins that none of us are currently required to monitor for. And then 2, developing a long-term feasibility plan to connect homes on private septic within the critical area of the Corsica to Centreville's plant before allocating new capacity to development. And I want to take a second to further explain that. This is an advocacy point that Shore Rivers has been very active on with Queen Anne's County in general and other larger county plants that we've worked with when adding capacity, because we are such a rural area. Non-point source pollution is our largest source of pollution heading into our waterways. That said, urban stormwater runoff from increased construction is the fastest growing type of pollution in the Chesapeake Bay that we're facing. And so when we're adding capacity to our wastewater treatment plants, which we do have control over, which we can tie a source to, which we can fund for upgraded technology, we want to do our best to help alleviate that non-point source pressure before adding new non-point source pressure of more urban sprawl. So that would be something that we'd like to see as a part of this pilot program as well. So tonight, we're not asking you all to vote in favor of adding this to the permit and tying the town council to this decision. What we are asking is for a vote of confidence and a letter of support that you're interested in exploring this option. There's funding available for this, and the town initiating its interest is a critical first step for us to help as advocates secure a pathway forward. I want to highlight that this pilot program, one, would not alter the town's wastewater permit from MDE. So the permit that the town is currently pursuing, the things that we are suggesting in this pilot program are not required by the state of Maryland, so it would not alter your permit or derail that application process.
It would just outperform the permit.
Exactly. And it would not delay the process that I know has already taken you all so long and so much work to undertake. It would not alter the size of the building currently being proposed to be designed. In conversations we've had with the town manager and the third-party contractor that's designing this, they are well aware that technologies to remove PFAS are coming. The EPA has just released their statement and guidance on removing PFAS from drinking water. Wastewater will soon follow. It's only a matter of time before these technologies are required in permits. And so it is already spec'd to add these technologies. So no altering of the size of the building or the design. It would not, as I said, derail or delay the approval process for the project design currently proposed, and it would protect and build upon the progress made over the last 20 years through restoration efforts by this town and community organizations. And finally, it would maximize environmentally oriented grants and funding sources to offset the costs. So to talk about the costs for a moment, if I can get the slide. So our organizations, as I mentioned, are poised and ready to help be advocates and resources to help fund this initiative, which is going above and beyond. Up on the screen, I have highlighted a couple of resources that are ready and waiting for us to tap into. So University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center is an incredible resource that exists to help towns access funding to upgrade their infrastructure and achieve clean water goals and community oriented goals for public health. The Environmental Finance Center currently contracts as a technical assistance service provider to MDE and can be a resource for the town, but MDE has to ask them to do that, and MDE is not going to ask them to do that if the town's not asking for it. So that's why we're here with you tonight. You have to be the first step. The Bay Restoration Fund, BRF, Clean Water Commerce Account, which pays for performance. It's a grant program that was established 3 years ago. That pays for performance. So the idea is that sometimes these projects can, be incredibly expensive projects and can last 20 years, and you're paid out over the life of that project as you demonstrate reductions of what isn't going into the waterway thanks to that project. So this could be a really interesting opportunity to apply for that pot of funding for the town of Centreville. And then the state revolving loan fund. So right now we're kind of at this really critical time, thanks to the CESA report and the fact that we're here in 2025 and we are not where we want to be to achieving our goals for overall bay restoration. The Maryland legislature, Department of Natural Resources, Maryland Department of the Environment are looking at people to go outside the box and to propose solutions that haven't been tried before. And they are opening up funding to do such a thing. This is a really kind of fortuitous time for us to pursue something like this. And as I say on the screen, town can be the applicant with letters of support from various stakeholders, and entities like Shore Rivers are no strangers to large grant applications like this and are happy to be a resource for the town as they pursue these. I'll also highlight that if the town is achieving zero effluent in terms of their nutrient and sediment, there's a strong possibility that you would be eliminating your need for any type of spray field irrigation system. And the town could liquidate that asset and help recoup costs from this overall project. So that's something to consider as well. So with that, I thank you. I know that I'm famous for going longer than I said I would. I really appreciate your time and attention, and I'm here for questions. I just want to highlight Frank, myself, and Evan Isaacson. Our contacts are up on this slide. Please reach out to any of us with your questions if you don't have any here tonight. And we really hope you consider our proposal. Thank you.
Talked about the heat map.
Yeah.
And pointing out that Corsica's got some of the worst quality. You also said that a lot of that was due to the shallowness and the rate of flow. Mm-hmm. So in a hypothetical world, if we had really low emissions and we were spewing 1 million gallons of practically zero nutrient in there, that would help clean up the river, not just keep it neutral.
So I'm not a scientist, I just hang out with them. But I do think that there are some pretty promising results that could happen from a near zero effluent or a zero effluent, especially when combined with the fact that we have a significant amount of tidal and non-tidal wetlands here in the area where discharge would occur. I know MDE is still in talks with where exactly discharge will have to happen because of the rate of flow. And so I think changing the effluent load, again, it may have significant impacts for the town as to where you have to discharge and how much you have to discharge because of that.
I think we've talked about running pipe out the river where there is significant flow.
Yes. And so if you're not, if the town decides not to pursue a pilot program like this, I know that you're all still grappling with where is the funding coming from and how exactly, what is the future of discharging farther down the river? Or if you do have to find another spray field, that I know it comes at considerable cost. And so I think through exploring this pilot program together, we could probably identify exactly, number one, how much that technology upgrade for the pilot program will cost. And when you weigh that against the ability to offload a spray effluent field and not have to buy a new one, you may be doing better than you were before. But I can't outlay an exact cost of what this would be. Unfortunately, we just have to kind of first establish whether or not the town's interested to ask those questions, and then we can find those answers together.
What about the operating cost of this type of plant? Is it greater than the three that are proposed, or I guess really the filter ones seem to be the selected one, but
it is an advanced technology, and that would be an important question for Janelle and Kip and for the town manager.
right?
So
Because I guess I've heard the electric costs are higher because it involves a lot of higher pressure pumps and other maintenance issues, and so that's something we have to pay. Yeah, if somebody gave us the money to do all this for free, we would still have to maintain it, and if that cost is greater than what we're bearing now, we have to pass it on to the ratepayers, but maybe there's sources of funding to help that along too. That would be helpful.
the Bay Restoration
just the-
Fund is taking a hard look at increasing funding for operations and maintenance, because
Yeah.
O&M is something that's lagging behind in all of the upgraded wastewater treatment plants across the state. I mean, Baltimore's grappling with that and many others.
Right.
So there are options there. There could certainly be more costs associated with operating the increased plant.
I mean, ultimately, though, we're all paying into the Bay Restoration Fund. I mean, there's only so much money. I want to say, just for anyone in the public and certainly for anyone watching at home that might not be so super aware, we're aware of these funding sources. We've gotten the bulk of the money that we have right now from the Bay Restoration Fund legislatively. We are hoping not to have to dip into the state's revolving loan fund, although we've been offered that opportunity by the legislature. But it's our hope to not saddle future generations of this town with another $20 million of debt. So I just don't want anyone to think that, like, until this moment, we had no idea how to get money from the state for this project, because it's what we've been doing for 3 years.
And I think that's a great point to make. And I'll add that I think that this year, especially because of the amount of advocacy that was lobbied post the release of the Caesar report and the new secretaries of various departments, there are new grant funding sources being culled from that same pot of money, like the Whole Watershed Act. And there are new things that are being tried because of where we are and the fact that we aren't meeting our goals Bay Restoration wide. And so I think that even in the last 3 years, things have changed with the current climate of the funding that is available, because the state is looking at trying new things. Yeah.
I hope they keep looking at it and we can get more Bay Restoration dollars.
Right.
Right.
But it's our understanding that we've pretty much exhausted that.
Well, it would be great to speak with the Environmental Finance Center about possibilities with the Clean Water Commerce Act and the Whole Watershed Act, which are different funding sources that
Be
would
interested in learning anything that we can.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right,
Very
thank you.
interested in, pursuing a pilot program that, that's what you're asking us to do.
And I would need to know more about
Okay.
the implications of a pilot program and the cost and I'd want to talk to our public works staff and the town manager, who I know have thoughts on it too.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to make that decision tonight, personally.
Thank you so much, very
Thanks.
Thank
informative.
you. All right, next up, we have ordinance 7-2024, adoption of the Queen Anne's County Housing Code. You have it in your packet. This is the livability standards, correct?
Correct. So this basically allows Queen Anne's County to come in and do, if someone is renting a house, apartment in the town of Centreville, and they call in for a complaint about their landlord, the Queen Anne's County Housing Authority would go in and inspect. And they only do that when the actual tenant calls. The town can't call and say, we want you to go do this inspection. So this would allow them to be able to go in if they receive that call from a tenant.
Great.
Is the county on board with doing this, or, you know?
Yeah,
Okay.
apparently we actually had an agreement years ago signed with them, and they are basically just renewing everyone's agreement with the
all right.
county. It apparently lapsed, and no one knew it last year, so she's been trying to, it was a new staff person that came in who didn't realize it. So they're just trying to get all the towns back up and their agreements set, so.
I personally think this is a good stopgap. I think we ultimately need, as you know, a rental registry and the ability for the town to help support tenants and landlords, frankly, when there's challenges. And we need more rentals in town, and that's just going to create more things for us to do. But I think this gets us there in the meantime. So we need to set this for public hearing.
Is this a public hearing that we need on this?
I thought an ordinance was.
The ordinance.
If
so-
it's, just like any other ordinance, it's nothing special, but it needs, public hearing is what we typically do, I think, for most ordinances.
So we can schedule that for,
It's too
But
late to
the-
do it for July, right?
I have to count the days. We might be able to get it in for July.
Okay,
But I have
whenever,
to count
as
my
soon as-
days
whenever
back.
we can do it, let's just
Yeah.
do it.
So this is first reading.
It's just first
reading. Yep. Okay, next we have the health surplus memo. Thanks, Crystal.
Lost the two for me.
Evening. So we had received health surplus in the amount of $57,240.39. We're proposing to utilize that surplus to offer 2 health holidays for the employees and the employer. So it would be whatever the normal, or what our current cost share split is, to apply to the August 2024 payroll cycle.
So this would just be they don't pay their premium.
Right. It would just be, no premium payments. The money would go towards the cost of the employee's portion as well as the employer's portion. So it's something that we have done in the past before. And the current estimated cost would be approximately $56,000 to cover those 2 pay periods.
We collect about $28,000 in healthcare premiums every paycheck in town employees.
We looked at the August, the reason the August is in there, because August is 3 pay periods, so the third typically wouldn't
right.
have it, so then they would technically get 3 paychecks that they
The whole
wouldn't
month.
be.
Be honest, I struggle to be talking about employee share of health premiums so soon. After the last time we did.
Well, it's 15% of the premium is what the.
Right, no, I know,
Yeah.
the employee share.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of thoughts about that, as you know.
Yes. So that was, one of the ideas for this time. And then we were talking about in the future, proposing to utilize whatever surplus we do get back from the health insurance to put towards, a portion or the total cost to the YMCA gym fees.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for whatever we can do for wellness, smoking cessation, or the gym, or whatever town staff need. But, man, I have so many feelings about our health care cost share, and I just don't know that an across the board is something I'm super down with personally.
It's up for a vote, I'm a no.
Go either way.
Would you rather do instead?
I just, as you know, have equity challenges with the way we charge the
Yeah, I
employee
understand
portion.
that,
And so
right.
if we have $56,000 that we're just looking to throw at the employee cost share, then I would love to see a more equitable allocation of that than an across the board, just we're not going to pay our premiums for 2 paychecks for everyone. You know, I struggle with it.
So some would have a longer holiday.
Or some would have none at all, or we would just have a different scheme entirely, which is my
Right.
hope before the next budget.
Right.
But there's 4 of us up here, so.
I wonder if they have time to figure that out before. It doesn't have to be in August, right? It could be any time of the year.
Yeah, it was just a
Right.
suggestion.
Right, we
so
could think,
the-
no, I appreciate
Yeah.
the suggestion in a 3 paycheck month, because I get that.
Yeah.
And the health surplus is just, it'll be there in
Can we think on
funds.
this?
Absolutely, yeah. It was just a.
Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion. I appreciate the YMCA part. I do think we've got to do something about employee health premiums. I don't know if this is it, but maybe it is. We'll think on it.
All right.
Thank
No
you.
problem, you're welcome.
Okay, Council Vice President's not here, so we'll skip the next item on the agenda. Grant modification, Chief?
Honorable Council.
Yeah.
So this memorandum dated June 12th, 2024, from myself in relation to the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development Improvement Grant. Put this memo in your packet as more of an informative thing because I wasn't sure if the council was aware that we had this grant through the town. It was applied for and awarded under a prior administration. So given the amount of money that was allocated for this grant, we wanted to bring it to your attention, 1, and 2, kind of give you an idea of what we'd like to request the money to be used for, obviously, if the council approves.
And Chief, sorry, this was originally requested for cameras, if I'm remembering the right
Yes, ma'am.
thing? Okay, cool.
So the grant is very specific in what we can use it for. It has to be in the Uptown Business District. We've had multiple meetings with the governor's office and the people that oversee the grant itself as to what extent we can use it for, what classifies the Uptown Business District, originally it said the center of town. They've actually expanded that from bridge to bridge, from down by the Sicko to down by the police department, to include the wharf area as well. If
Nice, so pretty much the whole place.
seems that way.
It's the identified sustainable community is what it
Okay,
is.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the extension request was due to the fact that we had to really delve into this and see what the specifications of the grant was, what the monies could be used for, and if it was something we could even utilize. So once we've determined that, which was as of recently, we've had multiple meetings between the town manager, Carol DiAgostino, and myself, along with the managing grant partners for the state. And we've nailed down certain things that we can use those funding for, which is listed under the total reallocation amount. So under that portion, we were looking at possibly replacing the speed trailer that we have and adding another one
From a different company.
from a different company.
I'm down with that, but.
Yes, ma'am. And one thing I will say, since we are on that topic, we have just recently bombarded that one company with multiple phone calls again.
We'll spend a ton of
and
time on the
requests.
speed trailer later, but, okay, back to this.
So we're hoping to recoup some of our funds from that. So there were security cameras that we had discussed about maybe placing down the wharf town assets to help, oversee the wharf area, playgrounds, et cetera, along with Millstream Park. We looked at possibly utilizing the funds for solar speed limit signage in the school zone areas around town.
Can we use them in not the school zone areas?
Use them anywhere you would like.
Okay, because, and then this is like the kind of question that Councilmember Keel's going to be like, don't you know who owns what road? And I don't. I really don't. Hope Road, could we use one there or no? That's not our road? It is our road? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool, because I know there's a problem there. I just Council,
Yes, but we can use it there. We gotta
Yes,
get
we
approval from the state.
Yeah, we have to get approval
We gotta
from
get
the state
approval from
highway.
the state,
Yeah.
but we
We
can
do it.
most
But
likely.
it can be
they will-
utilized upon approval by the
Yes.
state, yes.
Yes.
okay, see, it was a fair question then.
And yes, ma'am, we do get quite a bit of complaints from Hope Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it would be a good spot for.
I think
something
actually
with
that's,
some blink on
we
it.
talked about Hope Road in our meeting.
Yes.
Like right as you're coming in or
Yeah.
right or somewhere, yeah.
Well, and, we can certainly sit down and kind of nail that down. so
You know
we
better
actually
than us. I just know that people do have, the Hermans and others have mentioned Hope Road as a challenge, and so.
You're 100% correct on that. So ultimately, once we could, if we have the option to procure their signages, then we can get with the state or whomever, wherever road we'd like to place them on with the council's approval. And then we go from there as to whether we need
Has it,
permits
so
or.
the solar speed limit signs are like the one going into Chestertown?
That's
It's on the
exactly
side
the
of-
same ones.
And like
Okay.
the one, there's one in town, or maybe it's not in town, but there's one as you approach the middle school.
Yes, the state put those up years ago
Yeah.
to reduce the speed
It's the same
in the school
thing.
zones. Yep. So very like that. There, we looked at 3 different proposals for that, and the lowest cost, but yet best quality sign was roughly about $3,700 a sign. It's quite expensive. But, looking at the grant, we think that we could have the opportunity to purchase or utilize the grant money to get 4 of those signs. And we can obviously, like I said.
All of
place
these
them
things
wherever.
make sense to me.
Can I just clarify, because I think I'm confused, which doesn't take much sometimes. The solar speed limit, is that the ones that show what speed you're doing as you're coming
Yes.
up to it, or
So-
what the actual speed limit is?
Good question. So it says speed limit, but it shows you what your speed is.
What your speed is.
not
Okay.
what the
That's
speed
what
is.
I was-
Typically,
that's
you
what I
put 'em
thought it was.
Under the speed limit sign, the static sign that would be hanging there, so.
The one out in the
it-
high school, the one
Yes.
at the high school just says what the speed
Yeah, it
limit
just
is,
says
lowers
what the
it.
speed limit is.
Where the ones going into Chestertown will show you what
Your
the
speed
limit
that
is.
you're
Yep.
traveling.
That's
It
what I
has a-
thought it
yes.
was. that we
And
were
as you
doing.
indicated, it flashes, kind of grab your
Either
attention.
one of those, I think, would be a
Yes.
help.
Yes,
Just to draw
absolutely.
people's attention.
So, and one of the last items we have put on here, and it was one that the council had approved a few years ago under a capital expense, was a UTV. In this grant, it does allow us to utilize the funds for such an item. So, and we've got 3 different proposals for that to the tune of maybe, I think 30 is a little on the high side. We actually were able to get it lower to closer to 24, 25. So, but I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of this grant and what our intentions would like to be, as long as the council would approve that.
Yeah, I mean, I think these make sense as modifications to that grant. I think, security at the parks, super helpful and makes sense. Don't know how often you'll need the camera footage from the playgrounds and stuff, but you'll be glad you had it if you ever need
We're hoping
it.
we don't need it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that just feels to me like some good insurance to have. Anyone have any issues with any of this, or?
No, thanks for the update, appreciate
All right,
it.
yeah, you've got consensus to do what you need to do on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing it to us.
All right, next we have Planning Commission updates and moratorium discussion. Councilmember Worth.
Well, I'd like to bring up my planning commission buddies, to talk
right,
about this.
planning
maybe.
commission
They can
buddies.
explain it, a little bit better than I ever could, so,
All of his friends, I think,
you know.
his whole
Okay,
crew.
they are my friends, all right.
Planning Commission chair wants it clear that you are not letting.
Over there, I'm sorry.
All right, now I know where I stand. From what I understand, it'll be a limited moratorium for developing ordinances for the complete neighborhood concept that was spelled out in the comprehensive plan, right?
So we're really interested in allowing council the time to address your sewer allocation policy as recommended by the comp plan, as well as the planning commission the time to consider updates to the PUD, the TND, and the complete neighborhoods. The comp plan recommends that one of the things that we heard you talk about a lot during the finalization of the plan was that you wanted to prioritize complete neighborhoods, which consists of those rental apartments we heard about and a mix of housing styles and types. So Planning Commission work plan to work on the implementation has resulted in us working together collaboratively to identify tweaks to the TND and the PUD process. And we just feel that if you could consider putting things on hold temporarily from a major site plan perspective for a 6-month period. It would allow you the opportunity to have the discussions about sewer priorities and allow us to bring forward to you amendments consistent with the comp plan.
And how are we defining major?
That's a good
Defining
question
the-
that our legal counsel can help us with a lot. My research defined that only the subdivision portion of our code currently says major or minor subdivisions, and it's limited to 4 lots. We've kind of talked a little bit collaboratively that we need to work on how we would define it, especially depending on council's direction, because I think there are opportunities in the CBD, for example, where you would want to encourage that complete neighborhood opportunity and allow them to get a sewer allocation if possible during that 6-month period. It's mostly the larger master plan type developments over a certain size and density that potentially would include mixed use.
Or would it include the proposed annexed area?
It would.
Okay.
But they've identified T&D for the Providence Farm zoning with
Right.
the appropriate text amendment that would allow T&D to be used, and it would not affect them. My understanding is they won't be ready to address subdivision and site plan for at least 6 months, and it requires the county zoning waiver to be approved as part of that process.
So the timing
first.
just
Yeah, the
doesn't
time,
impact
right,
them.
so it's, yeah. All right,
This would really only impact a couple of parcels in town that may be at that.
right, the 2 farms, basically,
Yeah.
right. There's nothing else that's large enough, really, to,
No, and other small things could proceed, and the planning commission
right.
generally wants this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it make more sense to have, to modify our allocation policy to talk about the velocity of allocations allowed over time? We kind of know what sort of time frame we're on for a treatment plant. We know what capacity we got left. If that was 2 units a quarter to a month, whatever that is, maybe that is a more rational way to do it? I don't know.
You definitely should we should do that anyway.
Got it.
And then whether you do this too or not is up to you, but that's something that I think they're intending to do as part of that, is to work on a sewer allocation policy at the same time.
It would be an interim policy, I think. It's 'cause
Right,
it's
but that
certainly not
may-
desirable in the normal
You're right,
state.
that may address what you need to address anyway without doing the moratorium. The one thing to keep in mind is it will take a couple months to enact the moratorium, so you're actually looking at more like an 8 to 9 months until people would be able to move forward.
And my thoughts were, and you'll all correct me if I'm wrong because you know the process so much more so than myself, is that if you don't take the time to figure out your sewer allocation policy and you do take the time to amend your zoning to make it a known thing for the community and for developers and the whole town about what we do want, you could get to a point where you have gone ahead and allocated that sewer sometime near in the future. And then you're in the same position that you were when you started, having to update capacity to address the kind of development that you do want.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Well, it also helps to kind of set a deadline for the planning commission, actually.
Yeah, to get this work done.
Yeah,
and-
get the work done. Hey, we got this moratorium's coming to an end, we need to get this done.
I mean, there
Yeah,
are major projects I
right.
want to see happen, but I want them done right.
Right.
Yeah, and they're not gonna happen
And
by the
so,
end of the year.
right. I
Yeah,
mean,
so we might as well
right.
just-
Like, they're not going
Right.
to go from annexation to site plan like
Yes.
this
Right.
summer.
Right.
So I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So what do you need from us? Do we have to have an ordinance?
Yeah, we'll have, yeah.
Okay.
So-
Do it like you do a zoning text
Okay.
amendment, so.
Yeah.
We could have that for introduction at your next meeting. but
Which is a
then
month away, just so we're all clear.
And you'd refer it to the planning commission, which they could do at their July meeting or
No,
start.
because we don't meet again till after them.
Oh,
Because
Oh,
our
the
first
day
meeting would have
after.
been July 4th, so we
I
don't
think
meet
we're
till
the
July
day
19th.
okay.
So it's just going to take some time,
Yep.
but that's okay. I mean,
So it'd be like September before we have a public hearing, probably. Yeah, okay.
Still actively working on.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
As
Give you
we're-
more time.
I don't think,
So-
I don't think anyone's going to bang down our door with a major site plan that we don't already know about.
No.
If we get done by September, we can just forget about this,
Right.
you know?
Sure.
Yeah. For him to get done
So
before
that's the
September.
real deadline,
Yeah.
is the moratorium public hearing.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys are only meeting once a month, and we need to meet 4 times a month.
Yeah, right.
Well,
No,
thank you.
Yeah, and it really does, it helps with, you know, the potential site plans that would be coming in are going to be coming in and asking for TND zoning. So it gets a little nebulous if we're trying to implement changes that were recommended in the comp plan to satisfy those goals, and then you've got development that's coming in, kind of what part of the code are they paying attention to when as things are, you know, so this just sort of clears that obstacle so we can really concentrate on it as we, you know, as is going to be best for the long-term plans of the town.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up, an allocation request. You have,
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Yes,
Imagine that.
so you have a memo from the town manager related to Trinity Avon Partners allocation request. This is for the project at 216 North Commerce. It's a vacant lot.
Vacant lot, mixed use, commercial, and five apartments, yes.
And staff is recommending we.
Yes, and I talked to Public Works and,
Yeah,
yes,
and our flows are actually better than we thought.
after 2020,
Right,
we've
yeah, those
gotten,
are-
yeah, our
Having
numbers
that
have gone up a
Must have
little
been a
bit.
COVID hit kind of thing.
Yeah,
A lot of people working at home or something, right?
okay.
Okay, so.
Do people really want to hear what we have to say?
You make it? I move to approve 5 allocations for Trinity Avon Properties LLC located at 216 North Commerce Street.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Whew, we're gonna get through this evening, we really are. All right, reports of boards and commissions, Maryland Municipal League.
Not much to report tonight, but next meeting, hopefully, staff and Councilmember Keel and I will have plenty to report after the summer conference.
Okay, sounds good. And if the MML ballot ever comes, I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
Council of Governments,
Nothing to report.
when's the next meeting?
September. They don't meet in the
September.
summertime.
Did you know that?
Yep.
Or, okay.
Yeah, I approve it.
All right, you're an officer now.
That's right, I'm vice
He is
president now.
VP.
Yeah, watch out.
He is.
Okay, Park Advisory Board, I have no report. Planning Commission,
The Planning Commission meets again next Wednesday. They were supposed to meet yesterday, but because of the holiday, they chose to meet
makes sense.
next Wednesday, right?
Okay. Just real quickly before we move on, Gay, did we have any update on the movie for the parks? You know, I feel strongly about this. Okay. Just, you know, where I stand on the movie. All right, reports of department heads.
What
Town
was the
manager.
movie you wanted to see?
I only have what I don't want to see.
That's the one we're
Councilmember
going to see.
Keel.
No, I
I'm
agree.
sure we are. Puss in
I
Boots.
voted for it.
Town manager.
We, I don't think it was the last meeting, the meeting before that, we had Whitman Rackhart and Paris here with us tonight as well. We said that we would give another update on our process at the July 18th meeting, so I just wanted to let you know that. Drink Maryland was a success. If any of you, I was not able to attend, but if any of you attended, and Carol is planning to give an update at the July, there's a lot happening on July 18th meeting. So Crystal gave an update to me earlier today. So we've completed open enrollment for all employees and 2 pay periods we've done in our new HR system. So it's a learning curve for all of us, but we're getting there, and it's a really nice system. We received, and I don't know if Gay wants to give this update or not, actually. We've received 63 applicants for the administrative assistant position that the council approved. So they are starting to schedule interviews for that. And the first ad for the October 7th election for candidates will be going out next Friday, right? Next Friday.
And when's the filing deadline?
The first Monday in August.
Yes, that's like August 7th, maybe? August 8th?
Like that.
First Monday in August. August 5th.
August 5th. Okay.
And then we also, on Tuesday, Whitman Recart met us there. We did a tour of Queenstown's wastewater treatment plant. They have a membrane technology plant, really interesting. And Public Works and Whitman Recart, they got a lot more out of it probably than I did, but it was very interesting. And and it is I don't know, is it an identical, would it be an identical? Very similar, yeah, to what we're looking at, yes.
Cool.
Membrane technology, yes, but, yeah, it was pretty cool, though. But that's all I have.
Okay. Steve?
Can you pass it?
So in front of you, you have a memo dated June 11th, 2024, from myself in reference to purchasing of vehicles and possibly extended equipment with the remaining FY24 funding. After doing a really significant review with Ms. Luffman, we determined the remaining FY24 budget for the police department is expected to have $150,000 plus left over that could possibly be utilized for purchasing of equipment. One of the things we looked at was the purchasing of another vehicle to replace our K-9 unit. With the challenges of finding suitable patrol vehicles in timely manner, along with the increase in inflation of rates of purchasing said vehicles, we were able to locate one vehicle to the sum of $40,000. And the upfitting cost of that vehicle would be roughly $20,000. So you would have a total of $60,000 to purchase that vehicle if the council approves said request. One of the other things we were looking at is possibly upgrading our computer equipment inside the vehicles. The actual laptop computers that are in the vehicles were purchased well over a decade ago, and when they were purchased, they were actually refurbished units and not brand new. We've basically been band-aiding those items for quite some time, to the point where most of them don't even work as they are entitled or intended to be utilized for. So we're trying to go through basically a replacement process, and we think it's going to be at least about a year or 2-year process to do that. And we were looking to replace 4 right up front if the council approves that request. So 4 replacement units are roughly about $3,500 a piece. So that would come to right around $14,000. So we're asking for roughly about $75,000 in total out of the remaining FY24 budget.
Anyone?
How many patrol vehicles you have? How many patrol vehicles you have?
We have 13 that would be issued to all the current active sworn law enforcement, and we have 1 spare right now. We're trying to replace the K-9 unit because it's a 8-year-old vehicle with over 100,000 miles, which ultimately as a K-9 vehicle, it has extended idle hours on it because it has to remain on for air conditioning for the K-9 and heat and so forth for the animal. And ultimately the compressor on it, we've been kind of another item we've been band-aiding along the way. So we're looking to replace that and upgrading with a newer vehicle and taking that one either out of service or utilizing as a spare unit for K-9 if, you know, that primary vehicle were to need.
The reason I'm asking about the computers, can you so of course if you replace everything at the same time, you got to replace it again at the same time. So I'm thinking if you could do 6 vehicles instead of 4, and then you only have to do.
We could go that route. I wasn't trying to be needy about it or.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if there's, if there's
money,
excess
yes.
resources in the police department budget.
Yes, I would go replace
That
half
was my
now and
question
then.
too about the number of computers, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure
So-
if there was thought process
so
was
total-
because of the replacement again.
Total computers that we would need would be 12, that would be 10 in all the active patrol units, and
Yeah.
that would leave us at least 1 or 2 to spare in case one of them went
Yeah.
down. So that's the number we were looking at, trying to replace is 12 total.
And you said they're $3,500 apiece?
That's a rough estimate, yeah. We've gotten 3 proposals, some of them are a little bit higher than that, but the ones that we think that would be exact replacements for what we need was
So
35.
6 of them would be about 22,000, correct?
Well,
I would say
roughly,
4,000
yes.
apiece. I was going with $4,000 a piece, so I would say do 6 instead of 4, and that way you have half of them replaced, and then you only have to do the other half. Maybe next year or the year after, whenever.
Certainly whatever the council feels fit to do.
Yep, you good with it? I'm good.
What do we have to do here?
I make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion that we purchase the 2023 1500 Classic for $60,468.07 and purchase 6 computers for police vehicles at a cost of no more than $22,000.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much. I
And
appreciate
now
the
let's chat
consideration.
about
Hey.
speed trailers.
Yes, ma'am.
What's going on with it? Do we have any data at all from its time in Providence Farms?
Yes, I think it was in one of the,
It was not.
not the last one,
This is all I've seen. Is
So
this-
it hasn't
this
been out
blank
since-
Speed trailery thing.
There
the
was,
one before that.
It was blank
Oh,
before
was it
this
before
too.
that?
It was
Oh,
the
the
one
report
before that
before
that had
this one.
the number of the data on it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Send it to me again, because it must be the meeting I missed and I don't remember seeing it.
I think it was, absolutely. So that trailer in particular, we've spoken with that company multiple times to the point now we've taken the actual whole computer board, the VMS board off of it, and it's being sent back to that company. They're going to rebuild the entire board and computer, everything brand new for us, which they weren't going to do before, but now they're willing to do. So we're going to see what happens with that. So when they send that back to us and it gets reinstalled, we'll see how well it operates at that point.
Okay.
They said if we're still having the same issues at that point, they'll just take the whole trailer back and refund us a portion of the money.
Because it's had a problem. It's had problems since the beginning.
It has been since the beginning. Yes.
Yeah, I remember the battery failed like almost right away, and then
Replace batteries, we replace motherboards, SIM cards, communication motherboards, everything on it. So it's
Okay.
been a constant issue.
okay. Anything else for the chief?
I got one thing.
Yes.
So, you know, we changed the speed limit on Little Kidwell. The way I hear it is officers are telling residents that they can't enforce a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit.
That's not true.
We know it's not true.
Right, I know it's not true, but because it's supposed to speed limit, it can be enforced, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, but I don't know if the residents just making this up, but just,
I've heard it from multiple people, including
Yeah.
people in my neighborhood, that they've been told things like that, things like, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but I had to pull you over because a council member lives here.
yeah, we've heard it all.
Just
From the officer?
from the officers.
Yeah.
And so I wish that I felt like I could just say to someone, there's no way a CPD officer said that to you, but I don't feel like that.
I would hope they wouldn't.
So if we could just address
I can
that
certainly address that.
officers need to be willing to enforce all of the laws of the town, and if they're not, then they should go work somewhere else.
100% agree.
Okay,
That's all. Thank you, chief.
Not a problem.
cool.
Thank you. I appreciate the consideration.
Any other, Gay, do you have anything? You want to talk about children's movies, or?
We'll have a list by the 18th.
There's already so much to do on the 18th.
That'll be fun.
Will
it'll be a
it?
fun thing on the,
Will it be? All right.
will it be?
I have to have a little fun up here, Councilmember Beecham, or, what's the point of coming? All right, Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens that wish to address the council about children's movies or any other topics? Your 3 minutes on anything you want. Yeah, come on up. I'm sure this isn't about children's movies, Sandy, but I wish it was.
Darn it.
Great. Hi, I'm Sandy Heffer, resident of 212 Corsica Street. So I just wanted to speak to relating to the wastewater treatment plant. So, I mean, our waterways are an integral part of our lives. We live on the Eastern Shore. They're extremely important to us. And they provide a ton of recreation for this town, for the Eastern Shore, and people who come to the wharf, and the seafood we all enjoy that comes out of the waterway. The Corsica River, as we heard, is under tremendous stress. It's a failing grade right now. It's deplorable as I look at it, as a citizen and living on the Corsica Creek. The town has an opportunity now to partner and find, with Shore Rivers, to adopt technology, to get it to zero nutrient, effluent, and as well as other contaminants that we all care about. The environment is under tremendous pressure. We're in a heat wave right now because of climate change. It's affecting the waterway right now. And so as far as associating with the pollution and the fishing, the recreating, it's just going to get worse. We're having flooding now, and it's affecting our waterways. So I think this technology, what was presented tonight was just to have the opportunity to look at it, okay, and the budget considerations, which are huge. I understand that we need to make certain that it's very clear, both capital and operations, what are we signing up for? Totally get that, as each one of you are very responsible from that fiduciary responsibility. But, my understanding, it won't affect the timing of the wastewater treatment plant, which is important. And so I just adopt to kind of move forward to give this opportunity to see what's the realm of possibility, what's the cost, what can be done, and to have a model within the state associated with the wastewater treatment plant. My God, how wonderful would that be for this town if we were able to do that and able to fund it in a way from a grant perspective and other opportunities that maybe we don't know about. Because it's so, I was just listening to, on like a podcast, just today, as far as there's so many funding opportunities in small towns, it's hard to know what you can go for. It just is really difficult. It's associated with, infrastructure bill and all that. So I just think it's just a great opportunity for us to improve the health of the Corsica Creek, the river, and therefore the Chesapeake Bay. And that also means the health of us in this room and this town. The health of that river is the health of us. Everything coming out of it, what we're doing with it, that feeds in the Chesapeake Bay. That's so important for, the Eastern Shore and the watershed. So I just think it's just, I think it would be a great opportunity to do that, just to see the possibility of what this could be, and not for it to be a barrier to move forward, and to have a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant that we would all be proud of, and people would be coming here, how did you do it? How'd you do it? And we were able to partner with people within our community that helped us to give us additional resources to move it forward. I love this watershed. I've lived in this town a long time. I grew up in this town. It's important to me. And I know it is for everybody that's watching this to say, hey, it's important to us. We want to make certain that we're not doing anything, negative to our waterway, that everybody is out there boating and fishing and doing everything in that. And there's can you swim in the waterway? There's warnings that come out. You can't swim in it and with this heat wave that's happening, I'd be shocked if there's not going to be that warning that's going to happen that you can't get in the water. So I just think it's incumbent upon, and it's an opportunity for the town to really shine in order to move forward. Again, assuming financially, it's not, and I know that's a really important point for this council. I am not minimizing that at all. So I strongly approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else that wishes to address the council? All right, council roundtable, Councilperson Keel.
The only thing I have is the roads should be finished paving tonight. Hopefully they got the quiet blacktop.
Okay, you need to stop. All
No,
right.
it should be complete
Do you have anything
tonight.
else?
No, that's all I have.
Councilmember Beecham.
Not a thing.
Councilmember Worth.
Oh, well, I attended the GTI meeting at Symphony Village last week. There was about 35 people in attendance.
You were
and-
incognito because no one knew you were there.
That's right. I sat in the back.
I asked people, did any council member show up, and was told no.
They said it like 3 times that a council member showed up.
They
Okay.
didn't know, they thought.
Well, you know the audience. So,
You wear a mask.
all right.
Glad you were there.
Yeah, so Jeff Armstrong, who came to us before, the regional director, he did a presentation a lot more intense than what he did here, explained the grow process and, processing of the plants and whatever. And their goal, and he repeated it exactly what he said when he came here before us, their goal is to reduce the odor-causing molecules by 100%, eliminate them completely. And they're doing that by quarterly measurements by a third party. And that includes, they take the filters and they analyze the filters to see what particles are trapped and see which ones are not trapped, and adjust the filters. And also they encourage feedback from the residents if they smell any odors. He gave them, gave out his email address so that they could tell him directly. So,
Rest in peace to his inbox.
right. So, and we'll see what happens in the fall when they harvest the outdoor grow.
I heard it was a good meeting, though.
Yeah, it was.
That's great. Anything else?
No, that's all.
All right, I just have a couple things. First, I'd like to, first, there will be no July 1st Friday because it's July 5th. That's just a challenge all around. Related-ish, July 5th is a Friday. So I'd like to propose that we make it an additional holiday for town staff and close town offices on July 5th. It's like just weird to have a Thursday holiday and have them come back. And I also feel like we were all really proud of the way the budget process went. I think we're all really just proud and grateful for the town staff. So I'd like to propose that we make July 5th an additional holiday and close town offices. You second that?
Motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to make July 5th a holiday this year.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With the exception, if there's an emergency, we still have on-call, right?
Of course, same policies we always follow on holidays. Yes.
So if I have a dead animal in my road, I can call them and tell them.
Yes, all your dead animal needs will still be met on July 5th.
I was hoping she was going to say I didn't find that funny. I was really hoping that's what she was going to say.
All right, well, if there's nothing else,
Move to adjourn.
okay, we're adjourned.
Hey, do we have any